How high achievers think is not magic. It is not luck. It is not talent alone. It is a decision made every single morning when they open their eyes and choose not to complain, not to blame, not to quit. High achievers take responsibility. They do not say, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" There is a powerful difference between being a victim of circumstances and being a student of life. When you take responsibility, you take back your power. Responsibility is not about guilt. It is about control. The moment you say, "This is my life and I am in charge," everything begins to change. And let me tell you something important. High achievers do not have easier lives. Many of them have faced unimaginable pain, but they think differently about pain. They do not waste suffering. They convert it. They transform it. They take heartbreak, failure, rejection, disability, criticism, and they turn it into fuel. Instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "Now what?" That question alone can build empires. Another thing high achievers understand is the power of mindset. They guard their thoughts like a treasure. They know that what they think repeatedly becomes their reality. If you constantly tell yourself you are weak, you will act weak. If you constantly remind yourself you are capable, you will start acting capable. It is not about blind positivity. It is about disciplined thinking. They do not allow negative opinions to live rent-free in their minds. High achievers also focus on progress, not perfection. Perfection is a trap. It creates fear. It creates delay. It creates excuses. Progress creates movement, and movement creates results. They are not obsessed with being flawless. They are obsessed with being better than yesterday. One step forward every day may look small, but after a year, it changes your entire life. Let us talk about discipline. Motivation is beautiful. It feels powerful, but it is temporary. Discipline is what stays when motivation leaves. High achievers do not rely on feelings. They rely on habits. They wake up when they said they would wake up. They work when they said they would work. They continue when it becomes boring. Success is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in moments of consistency. And here is something very important. High achievers do not measure success by applause. Applause is temporary. Recognition fades. Followers increase and decrease. What truly matters is growth. Are you wiser than last year? Are you stronger than before? Are you more emotionally mature? That is real success. Growth is private before it becomes public. High achievers think long-term. They understand that comfort is dangerous. Comfort makes you slow. Comfort makes you average. Growth lives outside comfort. They choose the uncomfortable conversation. They choose the difficult workout. They choose the extra study hour. Why? Because they know comfort feels good today, but regret feels heavy tomorrow. They also understand self-worth. When you value yourself, you stop begging for validation. You stop shrinking to fit into small spaces. You stop tolerating disrespect. High achievers respect themselves first. And when you respect yourself, the world eventually follows. Thinking like a high achiever is not about being rich or famous. It is about being intentional. It is about choosing courage over fear, discipline over excuses, responsibility over blame, growth over ego. You do not become a high achiever overnight. You become one decision at a time, one disciplined action at a time, one brave thought at a time. Change your thinking, and you change your direction. Change your direction, and you change your destiny. High achievers take responsibility for everything in their lives. And this is not a soft, comfortable idea. It is a powerful, life-changing decision. Listen carefully. The moment you stop blaming your parents, your boss, your partner, your past, your economy, your country, that moment you become dangerous in the most beautiful way. Because when you blame, you give away your power. But when you take responsibility, you take it back with strength. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can control how you respond. That response is your power. High achievers understand this deeply. They do not waste time complaining about unfair situations. They do not sit and replay the injustice. They ask themselves, what can I do now? That question shifts you from weakness to action. And action is everything. Taking responsibility means admitting when you are wrong. Yes, it hurts your ego. Yes, it feels uncomfortable. But growth is always uncomfortable. When you say, I made a mistake, you are not humiliating yourself. You are educating yourself. High achievers correct quickly. They do not defend their errors for the sake of pride. Pride keeps you small. Responsibility makes you evolve. And let me be honest with you. Responsibility is heavy. It means you cannot hide behind excuses anymore. It means if you are unhealthy, you accept that your habits created it. If you are financially struggling, you accept that your decisions played a role. If your relationships are broken, you reflect on your communication, your boundaries, your behavior. This is not self-punishment, this is self-empowerment. Because once you accept your role, you can change the outcome. High achievers wake up every day asking themselves, what can I improve today? Not who failed me, not who disappointed me. They understand that waiting for others to change is a slow death of potential. They change themselves first. They upgrade their skills. They upgrade their mindset. They upgrade their standards. They do not wait for perfect conditions. They create better conditions through better actions. Taking responsibility also means owning your emotions. You cannot control someone else's behavior, but you can control your reaction. If someone criticizes you, you choose whether it becomes fuel or poison. If someone rejects you, you choose whether it becomes motivation or misery. High achievers do not allow their emotions to control their destiny. They feel deeply, but they act wisely. And here is something powerful. Responsibility builds confidence. Why? Because every time you solve a problem, instead of avoiding it, you prove to yourself that you are capable. Every time you fix what you broke, you build inner strength. Confidence is not built by compliments. It is built by accountability. Stop saying, this is just how I am. That is a prison sentence. Say instead, this is who I am becoming. That is freedom. High achievers understand that identity is flexible. They are not stuck in their past behavior. They rewrite their story through conscious choices. If you want to think like a high achiever, look at your life today and ask yourself hard questions. Where am I making excuses? Where am I blaming others? Where am I avoiding responsibility? Be brave enough to answer honestly. Because the day you stop pointing fingers outward and start pointing inward with courage, your growth becomes unstoppable. High achievers turn pain into purpose instead of excuses. And this is where the real transformation happens. Pain is unavoidable. Disappointment will visit you. Betrayal will shock you. Failure will humble you. Loss will shake you to your core. But what you do with that pain, that is the difference between staying average and becoming unstoppable. Listen to me carefully. Pain can either break you or build you. The choice is not in what happened. The choice is in how you interpret it. Most people use pain as a reason to stop. I was hurt. I was rejected. I was not supported. And yes, those things hurt. Of course they hurt. But high achievers feel the same pain and ask a different question. They do not ask, why did this happen to me? They ask, how can this shape me? That shift in thinking changes everything. Pain becomes a teacher instead of a prison. When you go through something difficult, you are being given experience. Experience is education. And education builds wisdom. High achievers refuse to waste that education. If they fail, they study the failure. If they lose, they analyze the loss. If someone walks away, they reflect and grow. They do not sit in self-pity for long. They allow themselves to feel, yes, feel deeply. But they do not live there permanently. Pain has energy, strong energy. And energy must go somewhere. You can send it toward anger, bitterness, revenge, or you can channel it toward improvement, toward discipline, toward purpose. Many powerful leaders, innovators, creators, they were born in struggle. Not because struggle is beautiful, but because struggle forced them to grow. Comfort does not stretch you. Pain does. High achievers understand that scars are not signs of weakness. Scars are proof that you survived. Every scar carries a lesson. Every tear carries strength. When you stop being ashamed of your story and start owning it, your story becomes your power. Instead of hiding your struggles, you learn from them. Instead of pretending you were never broken, you show how you rebuilt yourself. And let me tell you something powerful. Excuses are very comfortable. Excuses protect your ego. They allow you to say, it's not my fault. But excuses keep you stuck. Purpose pushes you forward. Purpose says, this happened and I will use it. High achievers refuse to give their pain the final word. They decide that their story will not end in tragedy, but in transformation. Maybe you were doubted. Good. Prove them wrong. Maybe you were underestimated. Good. Surprise them. Maybe you were abandoned. Good. Learn to stand strong alone. Every painful experience contains a hidden opportunity to grow stronger, wiser, more focused. But you must look for it. You must decide that your suffering will not be meaningless. Stop asking for a painless life. Start building a powerful one. High achievers are not fearless. They are purposeful. They cry, but they continue. They fall, but they rise. They are hurt, but they heal with intention. When pain enters their life, they do not waste time asking for sympathy. They search for strength. And when you begin to see your pain as preparation instead of punishment, your entire mindset begins to shift. And suddenly what tried to destroy you becomes the very thing that defines your greatness. High achievers protect their mindset from negativity because they understand one powerful truth. Your mind is the control center of your entire life. If your mind is polluted, your decisions will be polluted. If your thoughts are weak, your actions will be weak. Everything begins in the mind. And if you do not guard it, the world will happily fill it with doubt, fear, comparison, and insecurity. Listen carefully. Not every voice deserves space in your head. Not every opinion deserves your attention. High achievers are extremely selective about what they consume. They are careful about the conversations they entertain, the social media they scroll, the news they absorb, the people they allow close. Why? Because they know negativity spreads quickly. It is contagious. One negative thought can multiply into 10 if you entertain it. They are not naive. They know the world has problems. They know life is not perfect. But they refuse to let negativity become their identity. When someone criticizes them unfairly, they evaluate it logically. Is there truth in it? If yes, they improve. If no, they discard it. They do not carry unnecessary emotional baggage. They do not replay negative comments in their minds for days. They do not allow one person's opinion to define their worth. High achievers also understand the danger of comparison. Comparison is silent negativity. It whispers, you are behind. You are not enough. Look at them. And if you listen too long, you start shrinking. But high achievers compete with their past self, not with someone else's highlight reel. They measure progress internally. They celebrate improvement privately. They clap for others without doubting themselves. Protecting your mindset does not mean avoiding reality. It means choosing interpretation wisely. When something goes wrong, you can interpret it as failure or feedback. When someone succeeds, you can interpret it as competition or inspiration. The event is neutral. Your thinking gives it meaning, and meaning shapes your emotional response. High achievers practice mental discipline daily. They do not wait until they feel positive. They train their thoughts. They replace "I can't" with "how can I?" They replace "this is impossible" with "this is challenging." Words matter. The language you use inside your head builds your mental environment. If you constantly speak defeat to yourself, you will eventually believe it. And let me be very clear. Protecting your mindset sometimes means walking away. Walking away from toxic relationships. Walking away from draining environments. Walking away from conversations filled with gossip and negativity. No. because you think you are better than others, but because you value your peace. Peace is not weakness. Peace is power. High achievers wake up and intentionally feed their minds with strength. They read, they learn, they reflect. They surround themselves with growth-oriented people. They know that success is not just physical effort, it is mental endurance. When challenges come, and they will come, a strong mindset keeps you standing. If you allow negativity to live rent-free in your mind, it will slowly control your behavior. But if you become the guardian of your thoughts, if you become aware of what you are thinking and why, you regain control. And when you control your thoughts, you control your direction. Because the strongest muscle in your body is not your arms or your legs, it is your mind. And when you train it daily with discipline and intention, nothing external can easily shake your foundation. High achievers focus on progress, not perfection. And this mindset alone separates dreamers from doers. Perfection is seductive. It looks beautiful. It sounds impressive. But it is a trap. It whispers, wait until you're ready. Wait until it's flawless. Wait until you're sure. And while you're waiting, life keeps moving. Opportunities pass. Time disappears. Confidence fades. High achievers understand that perfection delays action, and delayed action kills potential. Progress, on the other hand, is alive. It moves. It breathes. It grows. It is messy sometimes. It is imperfect often. But it creates momentum, and momentum is powerful. When you take one small step forward, even if it's not perfect, you prove to yourself that you are capable. That proof builds belief. That belief builds courage, and that courage builds results. Listen carefully. You will never feel completely ready. You will never know everything before you begin. High achievers do not wait for certainty. They start before they feel confident. They launch before they feel perfect. They understand that clarity comes from action, not from overthinking. Every mistake teaches. Every attempt sharpens skill. Every failure refines direction. Perfectionism is often fear in disguise. Fear of judgment, fear of criticism, fear of failure. So you polish and polish and polish, not because it needs improvement, but because you are afraid to be seen trying. High achievers accept being seen as learners. They are not ashamed of growth. They do not need to impress everyone on the first attempt. They are focused on getting better, not looking better. And let me tell you something. Powerful, small daily improvements create massive long-term transformation. One extra page read, one extra repetition, one extra hour of practice, one difficult conversation handled better than yesterday. These are not dramatic changes. They are consistent changes. And consistency beats intensity every single time. High achievers track their progress, not to criticize themselves, but to measure growth. They ask, am I better than I was last month? Not, am I better than everyone else? That shift removes pressure and replaces it with purpose. When your only competition is your previous self, growth becomes exciting instead of exhausting. Progress also builds resilience. When you focus on getting slightly better each day, setbacks do not destroy you. They become part of the journey. You expect them. You adjust. You continue. Perfectionists quit when things are not flawless. High achievers adapt when things are imperfect. Stop trying to build the perfect plan. Build a working plan. Stop trying to deliver the perfect performance. Deliver an improving performance. Stop trying to become perfect before you begin. Begin so you can improve. Action creates feedback. Feedback creates growth. Growth creates mastery. Understand this deeply. Nobody applauds you for ideas you never execute. Nobody benefits from talent you never use. The world does not need your perfection. It needs your contribution. And your contribution grows stronger every time you choose progress over paralysis. So move, even if the step is small. Speak, even if your voice shakes. Start, even if you feel unprepared. Because the greatest achievements in life were not built perfectly from the beginning. They were built gradually, imperfectly, courageously. one step at a time by people who understood that progress is not about being flawless. It is about refusing to stay the same. High achievers build discipline stronger than motivation, and this is where most people fall behind. Motivation feels incredible. It gives you goosebumps. It fills you with fire. It makes you promise big changes at midnight. But what happens the next morning when the alarm rings and you are tired? What happens when the excitement fades? What happens when nobody is watching? When nobody is clapping? When nobody is encouraging you? That is where discipline steps in. Discipline is not loud. It is not emotional. It is quiet. It is consistent. It is powerful. High achievers do not rely on how they feel. They rely on what they decided. Feelings change every day. Decisions shape your future. If you only work when you feel inspired, you will be average. If you work even when you feel bored, tired, or distracted, you will be unstoppable. Listen carefully. Success is not built on your best days. It is built on your worst days. Anyone can perform when they feel good. Anyone can push when they are excited. But high achievers show up when it is inconvenient, when it is uncomfortable, when it is repetitive. They understand that repetition builds mastery. The same routine, the same practice, the same commitment, over and over again. And that is what creates excellence. Discipline is keeping promises to yourself. And this is important. Every time you say, I will wake up at 6, and you do it, your self-trust grows. Every time you say, I will finish this task, and you complete it, your confidence strengthens. But every time you break your word to yourself, you weaken your identity. High achievers protect their self-trust like treasure. They know that if they cannot rely on themselves, nothing external will save them. And do not misunderstand, discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect. It is telling yourself, my goals matter, my future matters, my growth matters. When you choose to study instead of scroll, to train instead of quit, to focus instead of complain, you are not suffering, you are investing. You are choosing long-term reward over short-term comfort. Motivation says, let's do something big. Discipline says, let's do something small every day. Motivation screams, discipline whispers. But the whisper repeated daily becomes louder than any temporary excitement. High achievers design routines that make success automatic. They remove unnecessary decisions. They create structure. Because structure protects you from your moods. There will be days you do not feel confident, days you feel slow, days you doubt yourself. Discipline does not ask you to feel strong. It asks you to act anyway. Action often creates the emotion you were waiting for. You start working, and suddenly focus appears. You start training, and suddenly energy rises. Waiting to feel ready is a trap. Acting creates readiness. And here is something powerful. Discipline gives you freedom. Yes, freedom. Because when you control your habits do not control you. When you control your time, distractions lose power. When you control your reactions, chaos cannot dominate you. High achievers understand that talent without discipline is wasted potential. Dreams without discipline are fantasies. Goals without discipline are wishes. If you truly want to think like a high achiever, stop asking yourself how motivated you feel today, and start asking yourself what your standards require from you today. And then meet those standards regardless of your mood, regardless of the applause. Because real power is built in the quiet moments when you choose consistency over comfort. High achievers measure success by growth, not applause, and this mindset protects them from one of the most dangerous traps in the world. External validation. Applause is loud. Applause is exciting. Applause feels rewarding. But applause is temporary. Today they cheer for you. Tomorrow they forget you. If your happiness depends on clapping hands, your confidence will rise and fall with the crowd. High achievers refuse to live that way. Listen carefully. The world does not always recognize effort immediately. Sometimes you work in silence for months, even years. No praise, no spotlight, no recognition. If you are addicted to applause, you will quit during those silent seasons. But if you are committed to growth, you will continue. Because you see what others cannot see. You see your improvement. You see your evolution. Growth is personal. It is internal. It is invisible before it becomes visible. High achievers ask themselves powerful questions. Am I wiser than last year? Am I stronger emotionally? Do I handle pressure better? Have my skills improved? They compete with their former self, not with someone else's popularity. They understand that true success is becoming better, not becoming famous. And let me tell you something bold. Applause can be dangerous. When people praise you too much, you may stop pushing yourself. You may protect your image instead of improving your ability. You may start performing for attention instead of performing for excellence. High achievers are careful. They appreciate recognition, but they do not depend on it. They go home after the praise and ask themselves, where can I grow next? Growth requires humility. It requires you to admit that you still have more to learn. No matter how successful you become, there is another level, another skill, another lesson. High achievers never arrive mentally. They stay curious. They stay hungry. They stay teachable. The moment you believe you have nothing left to improve, your decline begins. Measuring success by growth also protects your peace. Because when you are focused on improvement, you are not threatened by someone else's success. You are inspired. You are motivated. You understand that someone else shining does not dim your light. Your journey is unique. Your timeline is personal. Growth removes jealousy and replaces it with focus. There will be times when nobody understands your path. Times when your progress is slow. Times when the results are not visible yet. In those moments, applause will not save you. Inner growth will. The strength you built quietly, the patience you developed, the resilience you earned, that is real success. High achievers celebrate small internal victories. The day they control their anger better. The day they stay consistent despite stress. The day they overcome fear and take action anyway. These victories may not trend on social media. They may not receive awards, but they transform character, and character sustains long-term success. Do not chase noise. Chase development. Do not chase attention. Chase mastery. Do not chase approval. Chase improvement. Because applause fades, but growth compounds. Applause depends on others, but growth depends on you. And when you build a mindset that values evolution over validation, you create a life that is stable, strong, and deeply fulfilling. Where your confidence is rooted not in what the world says about you, but in who you are becoming every single day.